Hi, welcome to this third training all about wedding design. Let's get started. So maybe first a small introduction about myself. So I live in Antwerp, Belgium with my boyfriend. We've been together for almost 9 years now. And in the center you can see our little cat. And he's looking very cute and innocent in his picture, which is not always the case, to be honest. And then the other pictures are from some more of the more special travels that I did. So we really love to travel, so we're hoping to add some very nice pictures to this grid as we go along. Okay, so we started this month by looking for inspiration to tune into your most natural style. This has given you some idea on how to proceed with your wedding design. Last week you took these inspirational images and you've taken out those that you felt were most in line with each other. Whether you knew it or not, last week you have created your wedding design concept. Now you don't need to name your concept, you don't even need to know what it is exactly that you have chosen as your concept, as long as you can see how these images align and how they can relate to that feeling that you have of your wedding day. Before we start working on how to go from concept to reality, there is one thing that I want to clarify before we go on. When we started looking for inspiration, I explained to you how you could tune into your own personality, style, and experiences to create a wedding design concept. Of course, there are other ways to find inspiration and to create your wedding design concept. However, if you want your wedding day to be personal, if you want your wedding day to be unique and an authentic reflection of yourselves, of your relationship, then these workshops will guide you there. Now let's get started on taking that concept that you've created last week and start working on making it reality. This is by far the most difficult step, so I have broken this down into two parts. Today we will be focused mostly on creating your wedding day experience, while next week we will be looking at your wedding day styling. So first and foremost, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you and or your partner are quite creative by nature, you can probably do most of this yourselves. But if you're not, then it might be a good idea to ask someone to help you. Try looking for someone in your circle of close friends or family members who throws pretty parties, who has a beautifully decorated house, or whose personal style you just adore. What you need is someone who can visualize how certain things will look together. Now, the second thing you need to do is to get some examples. Once you're ready to get started, browse through some wedding vlogs and magazines to get an example of how others have combined elements to create a beautiful wedding design. Those images will not only show you how these couples have decorated their wedding, but you will also get a sense of how the wedding day was structured and what kind of experience the couple has created. Make sure to read the keynotes of this workshop for a list of blogs and magazines that I just simply adore and I would recommend to anyone. Try going through these examples with that feeling that you want to have of your wedding day at the back of your mind, and create a document or an online thread where you can link the weddings that you feel most strongly about. Now, next week I will show you how to do this in Trello. So if you've never heard of Trello, it's a project management tool. But you can use it for so much more, as well as organizing your home, structuring your home, but it's also a great tool to organize and structure your wedding. So next week I will have created a template for you that you can download when you download the workbook, and it will be sent to you automatically. So if you're interested in having a Trello template on where you will need to organize your wedding and how you need to organize your wedding design, then make sure to follow next week's training and download the workbook. When you're looking for inspirational images, try looking at real weddings only. You will see that a lot of blogs make a distinction between real weddings and styled shoots. Now, a styled shoot or a stylized shoot is a photo shoot where a group of wedding professionals come together to create a vision of a wedding they have in mind. They will usually have a real couple or model to act as bride and groom. They will style a table with a centerpiece, they will have a ceremony set up, and they will take their time to make sure every single detail of the styling is just right. Also, the photographer will have more time to get their shots just right. While some style shoots are incredibly beautiful and they're helpful when you're looking for wedding professionals and you're looking to see some more of their work, when you're trying to create a wedding design concept, these might not be the best examples. The reason for this is quite simple. When you're styling a single table, you can afford to get, let's say, three $20 candle holders. But when you're trying to style 10 tables and you're putting 3 candle holders on every table, you're looking at $600 just for the candle holders. So try to keep this in mind, and when you're not sure how you can see which photo shoot or which shoot is from a real wedding and which one is from a styled shoot, just look for pictures that have guests on it. That's usually a pretty clear sign. Now, before we go into more detail on the styling of your wedding day, which, as I mentioned before, we will be going into next week, let's take a step back and think about that first workshop again. Remember when I said that wedding design is about more than just styling? It's about creating an experience. This is a time to sit together with your partner again and look at the examples that you've gathered that you both like, and try going through the way that they make you feel and the reasons that you have selected these weddings that you feel most strongly about. And go through this together and write down the feelings and ideas that you both support and would love to incorporate in your own wedding day. When looking at that list, how do you see that translated into reality? And this is where things get really hard. If you have a general idea of how your wedding day timeline will look like, then try applying that on your timeline and try to make it more detailed. So let's say you have a general outline of your timeline. Just try sifting through the ideas and the feelings that you have, and try seeing how you can change or update your timeline to make it more suited to the wedding experience that you want to create. If you've not thought about your timeline, or you're just not in that space yet, then now is a great time to get started, because creating the wedding design experience and the wedding experience in general, it's really about how your day or days will look like. So when creating a wedding day timeline, of course, that's exactly what we're trying to do. So let's say you and your partner have your list written down of the things that you felt most strongly about in the weddings that you saw and in this inspirational board that you created. So let's say you and your partner have written down relaxed, no obligations, in tune with nature, ecological touch, close friends and family only, and weekend instead of one day. If you have created a timeline where you have your legal ceremony at City Hall planned at 11 a.m., your personalized ceremony at noon, a luncheon at 1 p.m., and then a relaxed afternoon followed by reception, dinner, and party, you might feel that this is already too much, because you said that you want to have a weekend, not just one day. So try to space it out a little bit more. And especially because you have that relaxed, no obligation thing, that might mean that you need to skip on some things. And I know that it's quite hard to move away from the more traditional parts because they feel so obligatory, but please don't feel like you're obliged to implement them in your wedding. If you want to have the dinner, reception, party, cutting the cake, and opening dance, then sure, just go for it. I mean, that's your thing and you need to go for it. But if you don't feel as strongly about it, then just, skip some things. You could, for example, you could also plan a longer dinner, have it really relaxed, make it sort of like a barbecue thing or a buffet thing where people can just go at their own pace and really take things that they like. And then have it followed by relaxed lunch, music, cocktails, and just have another brunch in the morning with family and really get that more relaxed vibe. Now, let's say you have more of a fun, adventurous theme, or fun and adventurous concept for your wedding, and you've written down things like you want it to be abroad, you want it to be fun, you want it to be adventurous, then try looking at the location that you want to go to. If you have not chosen your location yet, then try to think of the activities that you want to do. Because when you're planning a more adventurous day, it might be a nice idea to have, some special activities planned for those who want to. So, for example, on holiday, we've done a dolphin safari. It's amazing if you want to see dolphins in real life. But if you want to plan something like that, you need to go to, let's say, in Europe, Mediterranean Sea area, or if you're in the US, probably you need to go more oceanside. So try to think of the activities that you want to do and try to think of where you need to be going to make sure that you can do these activities, and is it even feasible with your budget, with the time frame that you have. Is it feasible to plan a wedding there, and is it feasible for your guests to come there? So these are all things that, I mean, dreaming about how your wedding day should look is all very nice and very entertaining, but at the end of the day, you need to be able to plan this wedding. So I know that it can feel strange to go from dream to reality, but it will help you to really align that most natural style that you have to the kind of wedding that you want to have, but also make sure that you can put this into reality. Now, when creating this general timeline experience, try keeping in mind who your guests are as well. If there are a lot of kids coming to your wedding, make sure that your schedule allows for some entertainment for them, or at least take into regard that you need to have some entertainment for them. If you have a lot of elderly relatives, a forest wedding might not be a very good idea unless you can afford to put down some wooden floors. While it is advisable to think about your wedding guests in a more practical sense, please by no means feel obliged to go for a more traditional wedding timeline if that is not how you want to spend your day. I mean, you need to find a balance between how you want to experience your day and how you need to apply this practically to incorporate for your wedding guests. So I understand that some of your family members may feel quite strongly about taking a different route. So next week, we will not just be talking about, okay, we've created this experience, we've created this inspirational mood board, we've gathered information and examples of other real weddings. How do we put this into a wedding styling? We will also be covering how can you communicate this vision of your wedding day, this experience that you want to create, and we will see how you can communicate that to others as well. So this is where I leave you to do the rest of the work. I know that this part and the next part will be a lot more than just this weekend cover. So don't feel pressured to do this like this weekend or this week and you need to finish it by next week. By no means. I mean, you have quite some time probably, hopefully, to plan and design the rest of your wedding. So just don't forget about this, because it's a very nice and very suitable foundation for your wedding day in general. Now, because I know that a lot of the topics that we've covered in the past 2 weeks and this week as well, there might be a lot of questions coming from you, so please feel free to put them in the comments or email me and I can address them in our next workshop. Also, if you're liking this training, then please feel free to share it with your friends and family and send them to the website so they can download the workbook as well. Now, as I mentioned, next week we'll be working on creating a styling for your wedding and how to communicate your vision for your wedding day to others.